and you're listening to a WNBA State of Mind. Stay tuned for a short commercial break. So Coach, welcome to a WNBA State of Mind. I appreciate you stopping by. First of all, congrats on the newly appointed head coaching position with USA Basketball. Please elaborate on that.
Well, thank you so much. It's so awesome to hear your voice and be with you. And I'm super, super excited about the USA Basketball opportunity with the national team. I've done it for a few years and have enjoyed the ride so much, and just so appreciate the confidence to be able to take over as head coach. And I'm excited to get going with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're no stranger to it either. You were over there as assistant coach, and then now all of a sudden, you're in the head coaching role, and you get the opportunity to be over there. Rewind. You'll just be the head coach, and you have some great talent over there that you can definitely utilize for the next couple of years. So kudos to you with that, and your staff and everything like that. I have to bring Katie Smith into the conversation. Me and Katie
better bring Katie into the conversation.
we listen. We go way back, and I had her on the podcast, and we were talking and reminiscing about the ABL when we first started, when we first encountered each other, and it was always on the opposite sides of each other. But we finally got the opportunity to play in the WNBA in the All-Star game 2002. So I was like, God, I'm glad you're on my side this time, because
Washington D.C.
Exactly.
Right?
It was a bear to guard her, Coach. My gosh, she had so much, from the jumper to driving to the basket, to the short game. She hit the jump. Oh my God, the three. She was just a bomb out there, the bomb squad. I always called her, called her chocolate, because she was just she was a slice of chocolate. Yeah, exactly. We called her white chocolate. So she discussed in great detail how much she appreciates your mentorship. Can you describe what that means, since you and Katie have history together?
Yeah, and Katie and I've been really, really fortunate to have a chance to be a part of her career as a player. I think so. I really understood Katie, and so I think the mentorship started there. Bill Lambier was the head coach, and I was an assistant coach, and really it was kind of the go-between. Someone like Bill and Katie. Katie's highly competitive, and we always say Katie sometimes gets to cussing and spitting, and that competitive drive, and that's something the edginess I just love, and so we always gravitated towards each other because of that, and I tried to, she was always just willing to do whatever it takes to win. By the time she got to Detroit, Bill was having her play, point guard, the lead guard, and that was a little bit out of position for her. She'd done everything else, but that was a little bit new for her. So we spent a lot of time together, just working through things on the court. And so that's really where our relationship and trust was built. And then I was thrilled when Katie decided, that she wanted to stay in the game and bless the younger players with all that she has to offer. And just have stayed in touch. And when she asked for advice, I try to be there for her. And the first thing I did when the New York position didn't work out was the day that it was announced, I called her right away, and I told her, I said, you're a great coach. That situation in New York is not an indicator of who she is as a coach. And just wanted her to know how highly that I think of her, and many people think of her. And, we talked about, joining forces together again and being on the staff. And I just want to lift her up in any way that I can. And I believe in her. And I think we make a great partnership, but I don't want her to stay here long. I want her to be able to, have her own gig again. So I know she'll be great.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with you there. And that leads to my next question, too. Coach, I mean, you have Dangerfield, you got Powers, you got Davis over there, who are great young players to build around. What style of play can we look forward to in 2022? Since you'll have a full medal jacket, you'll have a full clip, no injuries, all of that stuff.
But we got to keep it that way, right?
Yes, absolutely. I'm blessing it.
But we do. I am excited about our younger players, and Katie. Speaking of Katie, Katie's really helpful with those players, and she's hard on them, and she tries to bring out their competitive side, and that she's really really good for them. But I think what you can expect from us is I think we'll be better sooner than what we were last year. It took us a while to get to our place of a really good team, and we were fortunate that we were able to salvage the season and finish third, and despite all the injuries and all the stuff that we went through. So we can start from a place, like you said, that is ahead of last year. Now, we won't have Nafisa Collier for much of the season because she'll be giving birth to her baby girl in May. And so, but I still think we've got a really good team that, if we can come out of the gates healthy and in shape and ready to go, that you should expect us to be a team that can play a little faster. We've talked to, our perimeter players about, being able to advance the ball quickly up the floor, aerial powers. Having aerial powers is going to be big for us. She's just a dynamic player, scores in a variety of ways, has this physical toughness, has the edginess to her. And Crystal Dangerfield, I think, I'll get out of her way a little bit more this year. We had to kind of find our identity with our point guard group. We'll see how free agency goes. But I think in general with Crystal, the recognition is that, that's a player that, can probably be more like a Patty Mills type, scorer off the bench. Don't give her too much to think about and just let her play. Because what we saw in 2020 when she was Rookie of the Year, she was pretty darn good at that. So kind of getting back to that. I think she's excited for that. She's going to play overseas, get a little better, get a little more mature, all that good stuff that young players have to go through. And then I'm excited about Rennia Davis. You mentioned Rennia Davis, didn't get a chance to play last year. We're excited to see what she can do. I don't have any idea. I have to see her out there with WNBA players and see what she looks like. But so far, we really like her.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't mind me asking, I had Coach Stanley on here my last show, and we were talking about the draft and everything like that. What place are you guys in the draft?
We're drafting number 8. So we actually have Phoenix's pick. Indiana has our pick. We did a little bit of swapping in the off-season transactions, and so we're number 8, number 13. Number 21, and I forget the third round pick, but it's Washington's third round pick. So we have some decent picks, and we'll do our thing. We'll look really hard and see what we can find. And it's hard roster spots being available is a hard thing. So,
yeah, absolutely.
They've got their work cut out for them.
Absolutely, and that was leading right into what I was talking about, because I spoke to Coach Stanley about this too, and it was just like I was saying, I wish that they would just increase the roster by 2 players.
Yeah.
2 players, let's get back to that IR. If you get somebody injured, you can call 2 players up, or have another roster spot, another coaching position or something like that, just to help it along if they're not going to expand, because it's really difficult for you guys to go out there drafting players and there's really not a whole lot of roster spots. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, you've seen that through the years. It's gotten really, really hard for draft prospects, young players, unless they're a generational player that automatically will play when they get in. There's just not many of them in the draft, right?
Yeah.
And so, managing the salary cap is difficult. So there is some, there's some, good news for the young players, and that the smaller contracts are becoming really valuable. So from that standpoint, it's good. Mm-hmm. But like you said, it would be great, if the women's sports, there'd be greater commitment overall, a better, salary cap situation, as well as more roster spots. And we're just going to try to keep evolving and keep fighting for those things. And hopefully we'll see the change that you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking about being vocal, Coach Reeve, you've been vocal about the women's coaching pipeline. Can you elaborate on its importance for others to follow suit since you have Katie Smith, you have Planette Pearson, and Rebecca Brunson on your staff, not only as coaches but in the front office as well?
Exactly. Yeah, we just, I kind of got to a space. I never really, I always thought, okay, I'm going to interview and I'll look at everybody, and then whoever's the best fit sort of thing we go with. I don't really ever look at, I don't want to hire a guy. I never really thought of it that way. And then I thought that we got to a crisis moment in the WNBA when you look around and we had, I want to say we had one black female that was the head coach, and then we had none. And so to me, that was a crisis moment. And I looked around and I see who's hired, being hired, and so when I had two assistants, male assistants, black male and James Wade, who was hired by Chicago. Yeah. And then I followed that up. Now James' resume was pretty strong in terms of the number of years, who he worked for, Dan Hughes for a number of years before he came to Minnesota where we won a championship. So he was primed. He was ready. And then my next one, Walt Hopkins, white male with a very, very light resume. And, we can't blame him, when people wanted to interview him and ultimately hire him. But when that moment hit, this is not a case of anything against Walt Hopkins. It's more about, it was this revelation, that if there's something attractive about Minnesota, perhaps, or there's something attractive about males or white males. I'm not really sure what the ingredients are, but I know that I looked at it and I said, okay, if I'm a feeder to the next head coach opportunities, then we're in crisis mode. And I've got to make sure that feeder system is including black females and black females. And then so I said, crisis mode meant we're only going to hire women. Until we can get much better representation amongst our 12 there's only 12 coaches. And so it's inexcusable. Now, I would say since then, we've seen exactly what you hope. And, Tanisha Wright being hired, Vicki Johnson being hired. And so, I think people, whether it's basketball or other industries, you're seeing, a greater movement, not just hopefully moment in time, where DE&I is front and center. We can't make it a fad, or just something that happened. Oh, remember when DE&I became important? This has to be a way of life. This is something that's been lost on sports, women in coaching, black women in coaching, or women in color in coaching. And so I wanted to be a part of the solution, and that's where that came from.
Absolutely, and kudos to you. I really, really do appreciate that. This year was the 25th anniversary for the WNBA, and kudos to them. Fantastic performance, especially as far as social change was concerned, and getting the players out there and their faces to become household names. And so the year was real successful. What things that you saw did you see that you were most proud of over the years?
Yeah, I think exactly what you said, Goody. I mean, I've been around a long time. We go way back, and think about the league at that time. I think about certain franchises, that we worked for that, their commitment to the league wasn't really all that great, right? Their ownership, we were marginalized. We were very much second-class citizens. If we could even be in the same building, practice facility as the guys, that was a big thing. And so what I will say is what you see now, the women of the WNBA are courageous. We've seen their great work when it comes to, whether it's criminal justice reform, major social justice issues, the woman's, reproductive rights, things that for many, many years, Goody, as whether they're LGBTQ plus issues, we were kind of told for a long time, just keep that shit to yourself, and so I think this generation is much more courageous because they don't fear retribution. They don't fear what we feared. back in the early years, which was that they're going to take the league away from us if we speak too loud about the discrepancies, the inequities, that they would just take it away. And that's what we grew up with, right, Goody? That was something we were told.
Yeah.
And so, it's a much better time. There's a much greater commitment from the NBA itself, from ownership in general. I think Kathy Engelbert has helped to propel the league forward in its, additions of some of the change makers. You see sponsorship dollars now growing for these players, and it's just a lot changing. And like I said, going back from, I got in the league in 2001 and fast forward to 2021, a lot has changed for the better. And I'm, thankful that I could still be a part of it. I'm thankful that we have seen that growth. We still have a long way to go, as we know, but I think we're making real progress at this point.
On point. We're going to end with that. And you're listening to a WNBA State of Mind, sitting here chilling with Coach Reeve, Minnesota Lynx. Check them out. Look out for them. Season is going to be hot.